Hello guys, and welcome to a new Wargame Red Dragon video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you a 4 versus 4 on Tough Jungle. And I thought since the feedback on the last 2 Wargame videos was so good, I'd obviously continue to bring you guys Wargame content. I kind of decided to do so anyway, but you guys encouraged me that little bit more. So thank you guys for all the good comments, and I really appreciate it. I am still getting used to playing this game again, so do bear with me if I am a little bit newbie. But today I'm going to be bringing you guys a USSR 1985 deck. Actually, everybody in the game was using a 1985 deck. I set up the lobby so that was the case. But yeah, today specifically we're going to be using a USSR 1985 deck. So I'm going to be starting here with a bunch of Mi-24s. A few of these have Gornostrauki in them. Those are squads which have like ATGMs, but are also pretty good at engaging enemy infantry. And one of these has, I think, a Spetsnaz GRU squad in it, which is a very good recon squad. I've also got a BMD2 coming in, a leader there, with a Tunguska, a Strela 10M, and a T80A on the road. I'm going to be taking the far right side. I'm going for Gregory to cap this, which is why all of these helicopters are being used to fast deploy into that sector. Also, there's a bunch of these buildings around the edge that are really good for housing ATGM units, since they have great line of sight onto the road. So that's what I'm going to be trying to take advantage of. And then if I can later on maybe move through this forest to harass Chariton. And maybe we can push through this forest as well. That was the idea, just to try and take Gregory and then put pressure on Chariton. Although Chariton is their land reinforcement point on the enemy team. So yeah, that's going to be difficult to say the least. Ours is over here on Dimitri. So that's kind of how the map is balanced. We both have our major spawns with our air coming in. And then you can also capture Dimitri and Chariton in order to get the land spawns. Now today on my team I am joined by Crow Warrior, Sturmsource and GenJeft, and on our opposing team we have Obibro, Itaidek, Sathor and Taki. I really appreciate all these guys playing. So there's the Spetsnaz GRU. They do have the Dragunov SVD, so good at engaging infantry at range. You can already see the Gornostrauki firing away there, and also the Mi-24Ds now engaging the VAB T20. Unfortunately Sathor made a little bit of a mistake, not realizing that I would quick deploy into the sector, and loses his command early on. So I'm able to get quite a good position here. I don't think they expected me to push forwards very quickly into Gregory. So yeah, I'm already set up, and that's nice, and I'm going to be able to bring my leader all the way up into that sector ASAP. I've also got a couple of these BTRDs in here as well. These are quite nice transports. They've got decent armor and the quad machine gun. They can put a lot of suppression on enemy infantry, and they also are relatively safe against low AP power launchers. We're going to be bringing in more stuff straight away. We've got some BTR ZD Skrezets in here. These do have infantry squads inside them as well. I believe they have VDV inside them. I've got UAZ Recon. And the reason I was bringing up the UAZ was so that I could move the Spetsnaz forwards, because my helicopters are moving up here and I'm not really spotting anything so far, but they have taken Chariton. So I do need to be careful going too far, because they can just pop out anti-air from the spawn and just instantly engage my aircraft, which is exactly what's happening here. The Mi-24 getting shot down, and I'm going to have to pull away immediately. Mirage comes in for the kill onto the Mi-24, but does get taken out. My Tunguska is in position there and has a lovely time shooting that out of the sky. Meanwhile, in the center of the map, Sturmsource is busy engaging a Itaidek across the open. Obibro is also there, and Crow is making a decent progress on the left. He's managed to take the bottom side town area in Fedor. Is under mortar fire right now. I'm just going to be pulling back all of these aircraft for now. I really like this Ka-29 TB. There's one thing that I've really missed about Wargame is just like all of these modern helicopters and units. Big fan of helicopters in general. And the Ka-29 with a dual rotor is just one of those really interesting, cool helicopters. Of course, the Hinds are always amazing, but Yeah, that K29TB, that was originally brought in because of my command over here. So I've got a command in the town, we've also got a command further back. But having two commanders in a sector is kind of a nice thing to do in a lot of cases if you can afford it, because it basically allows you to bait your opponent into thinking that they're going to decap, and then you have another one somewhere else. It's just basically safe, allows us to maintain hold of our spawn. If somebody was to like bring round a helicopter and snipe GenJeft's vehicle here, I would still have the command in the town just to be safe. So even more stuff on the way. I've got a couple of T64As. These T64As are pretty nice. They do have the 4 HE power, so they are able to do quite a lot of damage to enemy infantry in the open. They're going to be followed up by 2 more Saperzi in the BTRDs, and we've also got the Afghanskis there. Afghanskis are in the support tab, not the anti-air tab. And they're pretty useful because they just provide that little bit extra AA at close range, as well as infantry ground support. So 1,500 meter range versus ground forces, and 1,500 meter range versus helicopters as well. So you can see my Spetsnaz GRU now moving up. On the right there, Gornostrach is still chilling. T-80A is kind of a bit vulnerable out in the open right now. I don't have any mortars with smoke to cover that, so that's in a bit of a dangerous spot. But I'm going to be moving up the Strela 10M to try and take out the Gazelle so that I can continue to move up infantry on the right-hand side. I've also decided to bring up this Mi-24K. Very cool hind with an awesome camo. It's got exceptional optics and allows me basically to scout anything coming down the road. It should be able to see quite a lot from there. Although maybe I put it in a position that wasn't ideal because it might be blocked by those trees a little bit. Another aircraft coming in. Peace Rhine going straight for my T-80A. Again, leaving that heavy tanks out in the open like that, not a good idea, and I kind of pay for it a little bit there. T-80A gets a big chunk to the face. But my infantry going to be just charging on into Chariton. Haven't come under any seriously heavy resistance just yet. So going to try and take advantage of that. Skrezets are going to be able to start getting shots onto the Gazelle. So going to let that happen. Might as well. Shoot that down soon enough. BMP-2s going to be coming up here and engaging the Marder 2s at range. Unfortunately, the Panzer Grenadiers in the forest were able to use their launchers, which did weaken my BMP-2s quite a bit. They're going to be launching a Conkers there at the Marder to take it out. And I split these so that I could get the one that was closer further away. But that's going to end up coming into line of sight of the Marder 2 very shortly. Getting these Skrezets into cover. They're going to be unloading some VDV that can push forwards and engage those Panzer Grenadiers. Fortunately, I didn't have line of sight onto this Marder as it engaged my BMP-2. My Spetsnaz weren't really spotting them very well, so that was unfortunate. Unfortunately, line of sight in this game can be a little dodge, especially when it comes to forests, because I think certain trees do block line of sight. Or it might just be like how deep you are in the forest, but you got to be careful with that kind of thing. Mi-24 is coming in to support this. But got to be careful getting too close to the spawn. You can see that ATGMs is now coming in with some helicopters to help out, the AH-1E Cobra and the AH-1J. I do have the Skrezets in position, and I've also got the Strela 10M still here. Mi-24 trying to engage the Cobra as well. He is going to spot my Sapere moving forwards. The Sapere aren't too much of a threat to him over here, so I don't expect him to really put too much effort into taking those out. But the Strela 10M moving up. It's moving through the water right now. One really cool thing about a lot of these vehicles as well in Wargame Red Dragon is they have amphibious capability. So in this case we managed to get a nice hit there onto the Mirage, but didn't manage to shoot it down. Did manage to kill off one of my Mi-24s though. Managed to get a nice kill there onto the VulcanHDGaming. The VAB T20s though, they're going to be now engaging. VDV take care of those nicely. Now I've just got to deal with the infantry in the town. And the Panzergrenz, if the Skrzets can get their guns on target, should be able to annihilate them. The thing is with infantry in towns in Wargame is they can be very, very resilient. Especially if you're engaging from outside of a town. That's why you always want to get your units into a town ASAP. Or use decent fire support, like in this case. The Skrzets are fantastic for this kind of close range fire support, because by default infantry units will use their machine gun to engage your infantry as opposed to their launcher to engage the APCs. And if you time it right with letting your infantry engage the enemy infantry first, you can actually do a really good job with that and allow your armored vehicles to get a lot of free damage in. Tornado goes down to the Tunguska, and if you like the sound of those guns firing away, those AA pieces, then get ready for a lot more of that. Trying now to engage the Armada 1s, but the VDV are panicked at the moment, which is affecting their accuracy. So they're not able to get much done. F-15A Eagle comes in, hanging about a little too long here. It's trying to shoot down the Su-24, which has the anti-radar missiles. Those anti-radar missiles are perfect for picking off things like the VulcanHDGaming here, because it does use a radar, twin radar 35mm. The Crotals maybe not so much, but going to be able to potentially snipe those with the T-80 eventually. But this T-80 is also going for the Gepard with its ATGMs. One nice thing about the 1985 era for the Soviets is we get a lot of really nice long-range ATGMs on the tanks, and you can see I'm turning off the main gun to specifically fire the reflex SAR missile. Those things have like 22 AP power, which is, you know, a solid 4 AP power more than the main gun. So you might as well use those. And you can also turn them on and off so that you can fire a shot from the main gun in between. So if you micro it properly, you can get a lot of DPS out of a T-80. Or any tank that has an HGM. But trying to get my Sapere closer. The VDV still chilling. I'm just trying to let them cool down so that they can get some good shots in. Or the Jaguar comes in here. It perfectly takes out both of my AA pieces. The Tunguska going down there. I believe that was a Tunguska went down over here as well. Just both of them got hit by the Jaguar. It's very rare that a aircraft will hit both of its missiles like that, both of its anti-radar missiles. But the PHLs, this is GenJeft. GenJeft was using a Chinese 1980s support deck. So he's got a load of these napalm launchers that are going to be absolutely plastering this place in fire. It's absolutely awesome. The PHLs, and then he's got the PHZs as well. PHZs are just similar launcher but on a APC, so it comes up, just absolutely sets the whole place on fire. It's great against infantry and will dislodge infantry from cover, but napalm in Wargame is historically quite bad. On my T-64A here, I was really hoping that I'd be able to move it up and pop these Mardas, but the Marder 182s were a lot more resilient than I expected, and unfortunately my T-64 does go down to the ATGMs there. They're trying now to get the Sapere up instead so that they can clear out the infantry so I don't have to worry about it. T-80A can also help out with this, but the Rima 85, they have the Apalas AT. This thing has 23 AP power. It's one of the best launchers in the game. At the 700 meter range anyway. It's like as a sort of close range AT option, it's really, really good. And I'm definitely in range to have my T-80 taken out, but this T-80 has actually run out of fuel, so I can't move it even if I wanted to. So the Sapere here, they're trying to like flame out the Rima to just stop them being too effective, but Sapere, again, aren't great themselves, because unless they're already in a town where they have the defensive bonus, all they do when they attack a town is make the enemy units jump around, because infantry doesn't naturally sit on top of flames. You don't have to like tell them to move off it. If this building that they're in, for example, starts to be on fire, then what they'll do is they'll just move to a different building in the area. So that's one thing you've got to worry about. Anyway, in the meantime, you may have noticed that all of my Gornostrauki have moved up from the right-hand side to the next set of buildings, and now we're happily side-shotting multiple units that are coming in from the spawn. And the nice thing about the positioning of these Gornostrauki is they're hitting side and rear armor. Unfortunately, in some cases, the ATGMs are going to completely whiff, but yeah, for the most part, this is a spawn road, so I'm able to get lots of free ATGM shots in there, which is really nice. TATBV is going to be continuing to engage any infantry that were left over. You can see we just took out another squad there. So get a lot of good value out of these Gornostrauki. But here comes the Peace Rhine and the Kiefer C7. It's coming straight in towards the TATBV. Doesn't have line of sight. The Strela 10M does manage to shoot it down, so a beautiful kill there. Unfortunately, I think Sathor dropped from the game at this point. But either way, we're going to be up against now whoever took over Sathor's units. So the T-64 going to get popped there by the Rima. You can see they just do so much damage. Afghansky is going to take a little bit of artillery fire there. We're going to be bringing in a Merkava 2B. So that's going to get side shot immediately. And this isn't really a tank that you want to get side shot too much. 80 points. Might have had infantry inside as well and gets killed straight off the bat by the Gornostrauki. And these Gornostrauki, they're only 20 points. I mean, admittedly, I did bring them in with the Mi-24D, so that's something. But yeah, I managed to get some really good kills there. New Tunguska has come in, so going to be able to shoot down that Eagle as it sticks around just a little bit too long. The Baz did get shot down though. Now Raven coming in. Oh, misses its radar missile. I did manage to just about turn off the radar in time. I don't know if that's what ended up saving my Tunguska, but as it shot down that, I knew that he might bring in an anti-radar unit, so I did turn off the twin radar AA. The nice thing with the Tunguska is you can actually turn off just the twin 30mm and still use the missiles that it has, because the missiles aren't radar, so they can't be countered by anti-radar aircraft. Currently though, we are not winning out, unfortunately. Elena is kind of the contesting point on this map, and our opponents have held it for most of the game so far, so currently 130 points for the opposing team. Did manage to get a couple Urals up here. These are trying to give some fuel back to this TATBV, and I'm also trying to get like the Afghanskis back online there. I've moved up the Mi-24K so that I can see what's ahead of us, and yeah, both of these TATBVs just kind of chilling for the time being, but I think I saw the Rima start to move forwards aggressively, so I decided to move back my tanks into a safer place further back. T-64 BV1s now coming in to back us up, and I've also got 4 more units of VDV in these Skrezets. GenJeft, since he's playing a support deck, has supplied us with an Mi-6. Big old helicopter. The nice thing about the way that supply networks work in this game is you can resupply trucks from helicopters, as GenJeft lets me know here. So I can fill up my Urals from the Mi-6, move them forwards, use them up, and then come back and refill here again. And then when that's empty, he can fly that back to base, to the FOBs, and refill the helicopter from the FOBs, then fly the Mi-6 back. So you have this like really nice supply chain set up. Stemsource, lovely job with the Su-27S there, takes out the Buzz. Gornostraukis are still doing a good job over here, harassing the spawn road, enough so that Ataydex is going to be coming in with a couple of AH-1Es and the AH-1J Cobra. in order to clean them out. And my Gornostalki and the Saperzi or Sapere don't really have any way to counter those helicopters. So they're in a bit of a tough spot, and also Itaidak's going to be unloading a couple of infantry there as well. As you can see, this is also being hit by bombing strikes and all sorts. Artillery. Just big old bombs coming in, annihilating my infantry on that right-hand side. I admit this is quite a frustrating thing to play against when your opponent has ATGMs firing at your spawn road. So, completely warranted coming in with this hard and taking all of those out. VDV going across the top of a mountain here. This mountain's actually kind of hard to push across towards Chariton because the cover doesn't extend down the side of the slopes. You can see there's like the gap in the forest, I mean, which makes sense geographically, but basically what ends up happening is you come out of the forest on top and you're trying to move down the side of the slope, but during that time you're going to come under fire by anything in range. Because it's technically out of cover and therefore not hidden anymore. So the only real way to attack Chariton is either through center and coming through this area, which is kind of difficult because it's a bit of a choke point and there's a lot of open space here for things to line up and shoot the road as you come through. Or you come up on this right hand side through this area, but that also is a little bit of a choke because you can just plaster this area with artillery and it will eventually kill most of the stuff, or panic at least the stuff in the way, giving your troops on the other side a big advantage. So this is what happens here to my VDV. Look how much stuff just opens up on the VDV as they get to the side of that hill. And just like in 2 seconds I lose an entire squad. And the rest of them are a little bit damaged. So yeah, I learnt the hard way not to go over that. Something I probably would have known back in the day, but had to remind myself. Let's take out some LVTPs on the main road. US Marines are left over. They're going to get absolutely smashed by rockets from the Mi-24 and also eaten up by the tanks here. The T-64 BV-1s also have the 4 HE power I was talking about earlier. I think the T-80 does as well. Most of the Soviet tanks do have that 4. The Twin Hueys. He's opening up with their miniguns onto my infantry. My poor Sapere, they're just trying to engage back with the AK-47s. Like some Vietnamese warfare going on. Yeah. Twin Huey doing its job there, that's for sure. The T-64 BV-1s were starting to get RT'd. I was trying to move up this T-80 BV behind the others, but unfortunately, RT came in there and kind of prevented me for the time being. These VDV are going to get absolutely chewed up by the Rima, still in cover. The BTR-ZD here, the Skrezets, are trying to shoot down the AH-1E Cobra if they can get shots on target. The Kefir comes over, gets hit by the Afghanskis, the Skrezets. The Tunguska comes in with its missile and shoots it down. Absolutely beautiful. GenJeft has brought up a lot of infantry here. He's got loads of Zanshi that he's going to try and push through towards the town with me. And since the Mi-6 was used up by my Urals, he's going to be flying that back to base to resupply it. I've got more infantry coming in. We've got the BMP-2Ds with more Motostoki. And I've also got these BTRD robots. Now these have the Falcon M missile system on them, so they do have the 16 AP power, ATGM that they can use themselves, but also I've got Conkers, I think, in them. So what I'm going to be trying to do with those is move all the way up here on the right hand side again and sneak Conkers this time, like better ATGMs, into these buildings just to keep harassing that road while I put pressure onto Chariton, because unfortunately, like, I'm having a really hard time getting into this town. And eventually I'm going to pick up some artillery and give this a go. But at the moment, just trying to push in with the infantry that we've got here, supported by the tanks, and with all of this sort of support in the air from a Taidak on the right hand side, I'm not really able to have these further out to push to fire into the town, especially since this is still close to the land spawn. I think possibly what I could have done is maybe get a leader into here to contest the sector temporarily, so that I didn't have to worry so much. Oh, more Skrezets. See, now I've got like 7 Skrezets in the forest here, with 2 Afghanskis and a Tunguska. That Jaguar did not stand a chance, and my Tunguska still has its radar turned off, so the Jaguar couldn't hit it with its anti-radar missiles. So there's the new MI6 providing more supply for us. So the Mi-24 here, I'm going to be sending that one back to base. It is damaged and could do with a little bit of resupply on its ATGMs. The artillery is coming in again. This is going to stun up my tanks. But ultimately, I think the artillery was aiming for my AA, so it took out a couple of Skrezets there, and my Afghanskis are kind of doing a runner. My BTR robots, they're trying to do a bit of a wide berth on this right-hand side. I was hoping to get past this AH-1J Cobra without being seen, because obviously these can't really defend themselves against helicopters, so I'm just trying to like sneak them around a little bit. Mi-24K, probably not in the best position at the moment. It's kind of behind the hill. This artillery was really, really obnoxious to deal with. And this basically prevented me from continuing any significant push into the town from this direction, like even with smoke coming in. So previously I didn't have smoke, but now I've got a couple of these Nonnas in, and these Nonnas are really great mortar vehicles. I'm just been smoking across the entire front here to allow GenJeft Zanchi to push into the town unmolested by all of the units that were attacking my VDV on the edge of the hill previously. We're going to have more bombers coming in here again, and they're going to be smashing the Zanchi with those bombs. Also some cluster in there that did a serious number on my TATBVs, and now the artillery coming down on top as well. And yeah, just any attempt to push forwards was being met with full resistance, but GenJeft's coming in again with his epic amount of rocket artillery. Look at it go. Just gonna go set the world on fire. Just plasters this town with napalm. It still leaves patches though. Again, this is the reason why it's not too great. Because it leaves patches where the infantry can take cover. So yes, this building might be completely crumbled and on fire, but these ones are fine, right? So the infantry can just jump into those ones temporarily. So my BMP 2Ds are on their way up. Unfortunately, one of my TAT BVs went down, and also one of my T64s. We are being hit by the Merkava 2s from a distance, and there's also the Leopard there. There's ATGMs further back. There's so much stuff set up here. It's really, really hard to push against and break down. Going to be trying to just smoke off anything, although the AMX did get taken out by the Azanchi's launchers. One plane going down, that's good. Skrezets doing their job there. There's one thing that was going pretty well for me was like bringing in this abundance of Skrezets was actually getting me quite a lot of kills versus like aircraft. And if I could get rid of all of the aircraft over time, then we wouldn't be harassed so much as we come towards them. However, with one of the players dropping, I think, well, Sathor dropping, basically what that meant was their 3 players were technically getting like more points, and therefore one player could certainly concentrate a lot more than 2 players could. Like the 2 players would have to sort of communicate that otherwise. So yeah, we're ended up against like a lot of points here and a lot of planes and all that good stuff. I did bring in a Yoragun there. That was the rockets you saw firing over. This was attempting to counter battery the enemy artillery, at least stop it firing for the time being whilst we continue this infantry push into the town. But as you can see, a lot of GenJeft Sanshi is already dead. My VDV are just about creeping in through the smoke. The Motostoki still need smoke to get down the hill again because it's since worn off. So yeah, that's not great. But my VDV here going to be getting on top of that small squad at least. The Skrezet's going to be engaging the Zephyrs. But the Zephyrs, of course, going to be able to stun them pretty quick. The Skrezet's kind of suffer from like a bad reload time. So it gives the Zephyrs enough time to get their Vulcan miniguns onto the VDV and pin them down, allowing the US Marines that ATGM has in the town to kill them off. But that's another push completely wiped out, and you saw how much Sanshi GenJeft had, and it's all gone. The two Skrezet's there getting taken out by the bombing run. My Motostoki did manage to sneak down the hill whilst all that was going on. The Afghanski's in trouble though. Yeah, things are not looking too great. Now all my robots tried to go all the way around the edge. Unfortunately the robots actually ran out of fuel. All the way over here, so you can see I've got a load of like robots with the Gonkas, and I kind of forgot about them for the time being. GenJeft, yeah, rightly pointing out that there is a lot against us. The Motostoki trying to finish off the last couple Panzer Grenadiers here, but with the artillery coming in, it's making things difficult. And as soon as we get into the town, and any of these Motostoki show themselves on the top side of the town, all of these units start just piling in and start firing at us. It's really, really hard for me to deal with. T-64 BV moving up here. You'll see that gets a lot of fire coming on at once it starts to engage. Motostoki still trying to jump in to this town, but yeah, they're gonna not last too long as the bombing strike comes in. Yeah. As much as I brought in AA, lots of Skrezet's, Afghanskis, Tunguskis, it wasn't enough for this much air force. So every push was just getting obliterated by mostly aircraft, but also this persistent artillery fire. It was a really awesome game though, seeing like the entire town get lit on fire, and this like entire area in Chariton just being annihilated multiple times over. Over on the left side, Crow did a pretty good job here. He managed to take Fedor, and we were holding on to that. We got the +2 going. We did manage to decap Elena, so that's where we're currently getting our points in now. So we're currently 54 to their 183, but there's only 7 minutes and 35 seconds left on the clock. They're going to have a go at trying to kill off some of their artillery. Unfortunately, at this range, they're not terribly accurate, and admittedly, I probably should have used the Eurogun to hit the town, but it was definitely hitting stuff because it ranked up. Like, as you can see, it's now hardened. You just saw it rank up there. That tells you that you aren't doing damage to stuff, because when you do damage to enemy units, that's when you rank up. And so, yeah, I was doing okay with that counter battery. I was certainly damaging enemy units and pinning them down. But since they're probably next to FOBs, if I don't actually get the killing blow, the FOB will just repair them over time and then they'll recover. So it's a bit risky doing counter battery like this. In Wargame Red Dragon, it's not that effective unless you, as I say, get the kill straight away. Oh, now we got the charge of the M51 Shermans coming in. These are the Israeli Shermans, which have upgraded main guns, and they're going to be engaging my T-80BV. The best thing about these Shermans is they may only have like 9 AP power, but they use heat rounds, which means that every shot that lands on target does at least 1 damage when it hits enemy armor. So that T-80BV, although it should be able to tank the AP shell, the 9 AP would never be able to really penetrate very well. The fact that it's heat means that it's always doing 1 damage, and with like 12 of them on the road there, that is enough to kill off that already damaged T-80. Gunas is going to come in and get shot down. Tunguska with its Sackless missile, and the Strela 10M does a decent job. Mirage coming in there for the strafing run onto the Mi-24. This Mi-24 was already kind of out of ammunition anyway, so it wasn't a big deal. These Z5As that GenJeft brought in were an absolute lifesaver when it came to stopping these M51s getting too far down the road, because I really didn't have too much behind the T-80As to defend. I did allow my Mi-24 to get shot down there by the Crotals, unfortunately, since they were just in range. Kefir coming in again. Tunguska now getting artied, since that previously engaged. And yeah, we're just slowly getting pushed back on this side, but I have managed to get my Conkers up into a position near the road, so they're going to be engaging their units again as they come in, but ATGM is going to make sure that those don't live too long. The AH-1J Cobra is perfect for finding and cleaning those up. AH-1J Cobras are really good against infantry because they have the frag grenade launcher on the front of them. And they just basically got two sets of rocket pods on both sides. So just bringing in now defensive Conkers. These are going to be set up in these buildings just as they were at the start. We're still at a +1 currently. Slowly but surely gaining our points back as we continue to contest Elena and hold back Fedor. And I've now actually brought in a bunch of stuff in the center here. So I've got a load of T-62Ms. Now these do have the Shexna like ATGM missiles, which are pretty strong for this era. Like 20 AP power and 2,800 meter range. There's a lot of like these M1 Abrams and so on that are quite difficult for us to deal with at range at the moment, so the T-62s are basically here to just deal with those. I got a couple of like Strela 10Ms and a Tunguska behind those to keep them covered from any helicopter or air attack that might come in. You can see like the M1A1 Abrams here. You've got the M1 Abrams that's going to get absolutely spammed by ATGMs. Just trying to take these out if we can with these launchers. T-72 getting a shot in there. The Hafiz does manage to get into cover. These don't have the worst guns either. Like, they do have 15 AP power and can engage at the 2,275 meter range, so T-62Ms are pretty nice. Bit of a waste using them on this Zelda. More bombing strikes coming in on this right hand side, as you can see. My Jurgen getting hit pretty hard there. Tunguska does take out that helicopter, but I'm going to be very, very reliant on these Conkers and the robots to engage all of this coming up the road at the moment. Back to 0-0. Unfortunately, Dmitry, the BRDM, had to fall back briefly from enemy units pushing onto them. Those commando para there. 183 to 158 at the moment in score. It's so damn close. The MP2 is still picking off these M113s. I don't actually have too much in the way of tanks to block this off, but GenJeft's here to save the day with the ZTZ-59s. Makarva 2Bs though, they're pretty hefty tanks for ZTZs to deal with. Thankfully I do have a couple of Conkers left on the BMP2, so I can use that to ambush. We're going to be capturing back Dmitry, but the Lena goes over in favour of the enemy team. They're going to be counting up a few more points. Artillery trying to pick off these Crotals further back at the moment. My T-64 BBs here also to engage the Makarvas now. Mi-24P trying to use the Kokon to get shots off. I'm still trying to keep these Crotals pinned down. Fortunately, the Mi-24P does get killed. One of my T-64s did get weapon jammed. I split them up so I knew which one it was and I could then retreat it. And then the other one can continue its engagement. It was doing a great job of picking off these tanks. Mi-24P further back, getting some ATGMs off, and I do manage to shoot down another plane. 20 seconds left on the clock, 193 points to 158. It was a hell of a close game. T-64s or C-62s just like pushing forwards as best they can to engage the enemy units on the opposite side of Elena, because we were trying really hard to find the enemy command so we could take it out, but not enough time left after the full 40 minutes. That is the end of the game, and it was a minor victory for our opponents. Nice job to Obubro, Taidek and Takida. Unfortunately, Saithor dropping. But yeah, an awesome game. I had a lot of fun with this one. It was really, really awesome to watch the town get set on fire by all that napalm. You don't really see it very often anymore, because in Wargame Red Dragon, I think I already mentioned it, but napalm just isn't that powerful. The only good napalm launches are like the Buratino, because it has HE damage aside from its base napalm that it leaves on the ground. It also does damage as it lands. Same with like the thermobaric MiG. They do the same thing. So that's like the only two instances of napalm I think that are useful. I think maybe Zippos if you consider them taking out naval units, but other than that, generally fire is not too good in Wargame. Anyway, in the end, we go 4,280 kills to 2,740 losses. GenJeft's support tech didn't really pay off, unfortunately. I just realized in the chat I've got SD. That's not intentional. All right, let's have a quick look at kills. So Mi-24s did okay early on. That was pretty good. My Tunguska did amazingly, though. One of these Tunguskas killed 2 F-15A Eagles. We killed the Käfer, the Seifen, the AH-1J, the Nets, the Kurnas. Just so many units. And we were fighting all the players on that side. The Eurogun did manage to get quite a lot of kills in the middle in the end by using its rocket strike in the center, as I pushed with the T-62Ms. And the T-62Ms were able to clean up quite a lot of those extra units. The T-64B on the right-hand side did a great job against those Makavas at the end. But yeah, it was certainly a tough game in the jungle, and that right side is incredibly hard to push after Gregor. So maybe, in the future, if I was to play that map again, I probably wouldn't focus so hard on pushing over the mountain there, and maybe would have pushed across in the center to support my allies instead. But I had a lot of fun like harassing the spawn there with the ATGMs and so on, and it can be a really annoying strategy to use against your enemies. It's something that in Wargame is done quite a lot, is like spawn camping with certain units, and also just like flying helicopters all the way around the edge of the map to go and kill CVs and stuff. It's a bit cheesy, but in that case I had a lot of fun with it, due to obviously using Gornis Strelkis, which is basically their primary goal, is they can take on enemy infantry that they discover in like those sort of side forest engagements, but then can also position themselves in a good place to side snipe units. But that's it for now. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that video of or that game of Wargame. It's always good to play more games of this, and I do play them on my streams on Saturdays. This Saturday I will not be playing, but yeah, look out, or just check my stream schedule. I usually update it on Twitch when I'm about to do a Wargame Red Dragon stream. So yeah, just like double check the schedule if you are interested in coming along to those and getting involved. That's it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.